Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today we are taking a look at the 2023 roster for the New York Excelsior, who, luckily enough for me, just announced this roster today as of me recording this video, yesterday as of you all watching this video. So that is very useful for me. This New York Excelsior team did not have a good year last year. That is honestly putting it kind of lightly. They were one of the worst teams in the league a year ago, specifically in the Western region, finishing with a record of 4-20, minus 38 differential, 12th overall in the Western region, and as a whole, second worst team by record in the Overwatch League. So very, very, very poor season for them last year. They're looking to rebound in a very big way going into 2023 and bringing with them a pretty large roster for this year. So let's throw it up and take a look at the new look New York Excelsior roster. New branding for the team this year and new look roster as well. As you can see, their roster fits Shockwave, Psycho, Kellen, Haley, Lep, Aniun, and Creative. So a very, very interesting roster. Mostly Overwatch League veterans, one rookie on this roster, which is very, very nice to see kind of some returning faces and some new faces as well. So let's jump in and let's talk about this roster. Let's start with the area on this roster that I think is the best part of this roster, just in terms of what I've seen so far and my opinion on just kind of, talent in general, and that is the damage deal-in trio of Fitz, Shockwave, and Psycho. I think that these are three very solid players. I don't know if any of them inspire me in the way that you kind of would have had last year with Yaki and Flora. I think Yaki and Flora, at their peaks, right now I would say probably do more as individuals than these three do. Where I think this damage line is better is just in terms of flexibility, right? My biggest problem with New York last year, I had a lot of problems, but one of my problems with them, with the damage dealing line, was that, to me, the way that they used Yaki and Flora was basically like always trying to put the square peg in every hole, right? If it was a round hole, square peg. If it was a star-shaped hole, square peg. If it was a triangle-shaped hole, square peg. But in the off chance that it was a square hole, they had one of the best-looking square pegs you could have ever had. And so they tried to force things that didn't necessarily work. They didn't have the flexibility that you want out of a DPS lineup. This trio here, I think you get pretty much everything you want, pretty much all the flexibility you can imagine you need. Fitz and Shockwave, very, very, very well-renowned for their hit scan play, right? Stuff like Widow and Ashe and Cassidy. But also they have some flexibility, right? We've seen all three of the players in this roster play Tracer. Fitz played quite a bit of Sombra in the past. We've seen Shockwave play a pretty high-level Echo in the past. Psycho, going to be predominantly the flex DPS player, can also play the Echo, can also play the Tracer, while also bringing you stuff like Pharah, like Mei. Whatever you need in that flex DPS lineup, Psycho can play a lot of that stuff, while also Shockwave and Fitz being able to cover similar heroes as well. So there's some overlap on a lot of different areas, but also some kind of unique areas that makes this trio, I think, a pretty strong trio. And we've seen Shockwave and Psycho play a lot. Obviously, they played with each other on Vancouver for a time last year. They also both recently were on Oblivion, where these teams, this duo actually had a very, very, very good run on Oblivion, winning the Run It Back tournament and the Summer Series tournament in Contenders. They also, Shockwave won the European Invitational, which was a smaller tournament, but it was a kind of European tournament where a bunch of kind of teams representing players from various countries kind of all came together and played. And the team that is probably going to be the Danish World Cup team, Shockwave, Naga, Doge, Molf, Slay, Kelix, that roster ended up winning the event. So very, very good kind of pieces on that roster. and one of the big pieces of that was Shockwave. So very, very good to kind of see from that. So I feel very, very good in a lot of ways about Shockwave on this team. I really think he's really, really good. I think he and Psycho, you have history there. You already have some of that synergy there. So I think they probably, to start the year, are the primary duo. This is not a bash on Fitz. Fitz has never played in a mixed roster, right? He played in Korean Contenders and then went immediately to the Overwatch League and spent 4 years on the Seoul Dynasty, right? So, 2020, 2021, 2022, he was playing in the APAC region. He hasn't, been a full-time, U.S.-based player since 2019. So I think that there's a very good chance Shockwave and Psycho begin the year as kind of the primary duo, with Fitz kind of coming in to play some of those double hit scan maps. We really need him to come in there. We'll see, though. It really could go any way, but I don't think you really necessarily have a weak spot in your DPS line. I think all three players are very good. It's very rare that we'll see a double flex meta. And even if we do, I feel like we've seen enough from both Shockwave and Fitz to maybe think that if it's Sombra or if it's Echo, whatever, you can kind of get away with having them in there. So I like the damage a lot. I think this is the strength of this roster. All three of these players impressed me during their time in the Overwatch League. There are leaked scrims from this team. They're not the best results for this team, but I don't really care so much about that as much as I care about kind of what I see out of you. And obviously, it's early on. I don't know what the ping situation is with the Korean players and even the European players. I don't know if they're all in the U.S. yet or not. And that could be part of the reason why we saw the support line that we did. But outside of that, it'll be interesting to kind of see what this team is. But I do think from what we saw in those scrims, I actually thought Fitz, Shockwave, and Psycho, especially Psycho on Esperanza, all looked really, really, really good. So I have a lot of faith in the DPS for this team. I think they're the best part of this roster, and I think that they're really kind of the part that, for me, will be largely the thing that I'm looking forward to seeing with this roster. Next, let's talk about the supports for this team. They have 4 on this roster, which is interesting, considering last year. They also, total had 4, but 3 of them were flex supports, and their main support was playing on ping. What I thought was the worst part of this roster last year, by and large and far and away, was their supports. I did not think this team succeeded in any capacity in the support line last year, and I think they've done quite a good job kind of trying to fix that this year. And the thing that I've noticed very, very heavily is that they've done a good job at trying to bring players together and keep players together that have played with each other in the past. Specifically, Creative and Lep both played last year on the Houston Outlaws. Creative also played with Fitz on the Seoul Dynasty. Shockwave and Psycho played together in both Contenders and in the Overwatch League. So they're bringing in a lot of duos. They're bringing in a lot of groups, people who've played together. And the rumors are Changun is the coach for this team. So he's coached Fitz and he's coached Creative. So there are connections across this team, which I do think is good. You're not building this team entirely from scratch. You kind of have some pre-existing synergy that you're kind of taking and you're putting them in kind of positional areas, right? Lep and Creative have played together, so they know how each other plays. They don't have to build that chemistry as much. They just have to work out how their chemistry meshes with Shockwave and Psycho's chemistry, who've also played in the past, and then work Kellen into that, right? So I do like that. I think it's a positive part for this team. I think that's a nice thing to see. But looking at their support line, there are some rumors about Anion and Haley/Halo. I don't know exactly what name she's going to be using in the season, so I may refer to her as both throughout this video, because Haley is her name and a name she's using Contenders, but then also Halo is the name that the New York Excelsior announcement video used. So I'll probably use Halo. Just understand that that is the reason why, because that is the one that New York used in their video. But with Lep and Creative being, I think, the primary support duo for this team, the rumors around Anion and Haley are that they are going to be kind of 2A players on a Calling All Heroes roster. We don't know if it will be a New York, sponsored roster, or if it'll just be they're signed to this team while also being on a 2A contract that allows them to play on a Calling All Heroes roster. We don't really know at the moment. But I do think Lep and Creative will be the primary duo, with Anion and Halo kind of coming in and filling in where they're needed. So like in a double flex support meta, I absolutely expect Creative and Anion to play in that because that's what they're both kind of comfortable on. And Lep's, known mostly for main supports, right? Lucio and Mercy and Briggs. So if you need like a Zen Ana or something like that, or even like a Zen Bap, yeah, I would probably want to have Anion in that kind of meta to fill in, either the Zen or the Bap, depending on what you need. With Halo, I don't know exactly what her main role on this team would be, if there's something that she excels at more than Lep. I don't know enough about where they both are currently. Obviously, Lep was in the Overwatch League last year, and so we did get to see some Lep. But we saw him mostly on Lucio. So I don't know if, Haley is a better Brig, if Haley is a better Mercy than Lep, or even if Haley might even be a better Lucio than Lep. I don't know where these two are at right now, but I would guess Lep is the primary starter for this team in that main support role. I wouldn't be surprised if Anion, though, gets a very good amount of time playing in potential double flex metas, but we'll have to see. In the leaked scrims that we got, it was Anion and Haley playing together. I don't know if that was because of visa things, and Anion and Haley are the two that live in the US, and so Lep, I assume, does as well. But maybe just they have the synergy already. They've been working with them the longest, potentially. Anion is from New York, which I think is awesome, that she gets to play on the New York team while being from New York. So that's one of the things I think is really, really cool, that she gets to be on this team for that reason. So we'll see what happens in the Pro-Am. It's very possible that Lep and Creative are the two that they want kind of when the season begins in April. But for the Pro-Am, because it's kind of preseason, maybe we see Anion and Halo play just because they want to kind of get them some stage time, get them kind of to be able to play in matches against Overwatch League teams now, and then when the regular season kicks off, maybe kind of in that gap between the Pro-Am and the regular season, we see more Lep and Creative as the starting duo. I don't know. It's the Pro-Am. I don't really know how seriously this team's taking it, but I like the support line in the fact that they are well-rounded. They can give you whatever you need. I think there's very real possibility we see a combination, a mix of both of these players, or both of these duos throughout the season, which is very, very nice. And I think that there's a very real possibility that we get some kind of nice combinations here depending on what you need, which is very, very cool. Just to kind of wrap up the supports, for those who are not familiar with Anion and Halo, Anion most recently was on Wisp. She was on Wisp, from November until very recently. She also was on the Shikigami roster, which I believe was the team for Calling All Heroes. So she has some history kind of on different teams. But like I said, I think for Calling All Heroes, she was on Actually, she may have been on an Altiora roster as well. I don't remember exactly what roster she was on. Haley, or Halo, spent some time with the Boston Uprising back in 2020, so you remember. Ever since, she's been in Contenders, Maryville Esports, Ardor, Kaizen, Altiora, more recently, doing pretty well in that, which is always nice to see. So she's back in the league after a while. That's always very, very nice to see. So I hope we get to see at least some playtime out of them during the season. I think it'd be really, really awesome to just get them some playtime. Like I said, I think they'll probably play in the Pro-Am. Who knows what things are going to be like in the regular season, but like I said, I think Lep and Creative, probably the main duo there, with Halo and Anion kind of coming in when the time is right for both of them. The final spot for this roster is the tank, which they have one tank on this roster, and it is Kellen, the only player to return from last year. And I am just going to be very, very blunt and very, very real. I really wish they had another tank on this roster to play alongside Kellen. I don't think Kellen looked all that good last year. I don't think he was the only problem with the team last year. Like I've said, their damage duo was a mess last year. They didn't have the flexibility there. Their support line last year was arguably the worst in the league. There was no way Kellen was going to succeed last year with a team around him that just could not really support him realistically. So I am happy that he's getting another shot in the league. I just kind of wish it wasn't on New York. because I think that there are better rosters he would have fit better on. I think he would have been a really good fit on a team like Dallas, where they just need someone to play the Winston and play the Reinhardt, right? They can rely on Hanbin. They know Hanbin's their guy. They know Hanbin is kind of the main tank on that team. He's going to be the primary starter. We just need someone to come in a Rein meta or come in a Winston meta and just be able to elevate our team so we have the kind of resources to be able to succeed in that meta. On this team, I think Kellen should look better than he did last year because I think the pieces around him are just more well-rounded, and so you can better make up for weaknesses and mistakes that Kellen may make. Obviously, he was a rookie last year on a very terrible position, in a very, 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 very terrible kind of situation that there was just no winning in that kind of position for him. I thought he had some moments last year. I thought he looked pretty good. I think mechanically he's very, very good. I did not love his decision-making on this team last year. And so we'll see kind of how he adjusts to this new team. He is the only tank, like I said. He's predominantly a Winston. He's predominantly a Reinhardt. Those are kind of the heroes he's most known for. So, you know, if it's a ball meta, I didn't think he looked incredible on the ball in the scrims, though. He wasn't awful. You know, I think it's a lot of pressure to put on him to be the only tank for this team. So I wouldn't be surprised if that is something that they look to add during the season, depending on the overall kind of level of play of this team. If this team looks like they're actually like pretty competitive and find themselves in a situation where like we actually could be very good in this meta, we just need to be a bit better on the Diva or the Sigma or the Zarya, something like that. There's a very real possibility they go in and they, you know, find a tank in NA contenders, just kind of pull up for this team. But, you know, I was pretty critical of Kellen a lot of last year. I don't think all of the blame falls on his feet, but I definitely think that there were times where he did not kind of play in a way that I think kind of impressed. And I think there were times where he made mistakes on positioning and he would go in and he would rush when he probably shouldn't have. Stuff like that. But it's very interesting, right? I think this is all in all, a good roster. It is one that I'm hesitant to say will find a ton of success. You know, I put them in a similar tier to where I put kind of Vancouver. I think they're similar, you know, maybe a little bit below Washington, you know, similar to Vegas, similar to the rumored LA Valiant roster. Like, those are the types of teams that I imagine this New York Excelsior roster kind of competing with. I don't think they're going to be a 4-20 team this year. Obviously, there's fewer games this year, so I don't know how many they'll win. But I think they will be significantly more competitive this year. I think they will, in general, look better as a unit. Obviously, communication, potentially, something that they have to work out. But all in all, I think this team checks a lot of the boxes that I want to see in terms of how you build a roster. Now it's about, can the coaching kind of get the most out of the talent out of these players? Can the coaching really elevate these players, right? Rumors are Changun. I don't know all of the rumors about like some of the players or some of the like assistant coaches, stuff like that. I don't know exactly where things are going there. But all in all, I think this is a team that is in a pretty good spot. And I'm curious to see how things go for them in 2023. Don't think they'll be incredible, but I don't think they are going to be a tragic watch like we've seen sometimes in the past. But let me know your thoughts on this team in the comments down below. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me, if you think absolutely not, this team looks terrible, or if you think, you know what, you could maybe be a little right. Maybe this team isn't as bad as a lot of people have been saying or thinking it would be. Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments down below. But that is all for today. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and want more like it in the future, consider liking and subscribing, as your support does help out a bunch. We have the Pro-Am starting tomorrow when this video comes out, so get excited for that. But that is going to be all from me for today. Thank you all once again. Hope you're all staying safe and staying healthy. Until next time, bye-bye.